me of plagiarism, even though Harvard University conducted a thorough and complete study, totally vindicated me, and blamed it on Finkelstein, who then lost tenure for making a false charge against me of plagiarism. But you're repeating that charge. Count two.
No problem. That's according to Norman Finkelstein, who debated you on Democracy Now! You plagiarized that book, and he showed you evidence in that debate. That's one thing. The second thing is,
Harvard University did a thorough study, found out that Finkelstein had made some charges.
If you're going to make these allegations,
he lost his position as a professor, but you've accused me of plagiarism. Count two in the civil
I'm ready.
that I will be filing against you.
I know defamation laws in this country. More than you know. Yes, I do, because I've had 4 cases. I've had 4 cases. And moreover, and I've been the person taking the other person to court, including your good friend Douglas Murray, which I've got 2 cases against him. But what I'll tell you is that you probably know nothing about defamation law, just like you have no information, no knowledge, no peer-reviewed journal on international law. You're completely dumb on these issues, because if you're saying to me
55 books, I've written 55 books, many of them prize-winning books.
You're not an authority in international law. Are you an authority in international law?
And I have won defamation cases.
Are you a scholarly authority in international law?
First Amendment.
All right, we're going around the houses. Alan, let me ask you this. One of the many problems I have with what Israel's been doing in terms of the scale of what it's been doing, but also what has been going on the West Bank with the increased settlements, very aggressive expansion of settlements, I think is completely outrageous.
I agree.
But once again, you said before,
can we all agree on that?
Yeah, we can.
Well, Alan's agreed on that.
I am opposed to Israel's policies on the West Bank. I think Israel should continue a military occupation of the West Bank, just like I thought it should have continued a military occupation of Gaza. But I'm opposed.
Yeah, if you're in Florida, man, be safe. Make sure you've evacuated correctly. Do not, bro. Look, man, Florida, look, I think the mayor, the mayor who was one of the mayors in the city was like, bro, if you try to go to one of the evacuation spots, you will die. Get the hell out of the, well, I would say the hurricane's path or the hurricane affected area, please.
And have been opposed to civilian settlements since 1967. Right? And I'd like to see them ended in a process that leads to a 2-state solution. By the way, I'm curious whether my fellow guest here supports the right of Israel to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people alongside a Palestinian state. Do you agree that Israel has the right to exist as the nation state of the Jewish people?
Yeah, see, everybody agrees to that. It's just, well, the current administration of Israeli, like the Benjamin Netanyahu camp, they don't agree with that. They ain't rocking with it for some strange reason.
Yes or no?
I think it's a viable option. In 2002, not just Hamas agreed to this, by the way, in what's called the Arab Initiative. The Arab
Convention. They didn't.
Hold on, you've just asked me a question. You've asked me a question. You can check me. You can fact check me. In 2002, there was something called the Arab Convention. And in fact, Iran itself was part of it, even though it's not an Arab country, but it was part of the 2002 Arab Convention. And they both said, so long as Israel does not occupy Gaza, it does not occupy the Golan Heights, and it does not occupy the West Bank, which you just advocated for, then there can be a 2-state solution. Even Hamas, Hezbollah mentioned the same thing.
That's totally
Hezbollah mentioned this point.
That's totally false.
Hezbollah mentioned this, and Iran agreed with it. And members of the IOC agreed with it. Hold on. Members of the IOC.
Have they recently recognized Israel's right to exist? Has Iran recognized Israel's right to exist? Now, I'm not talking about 10 years ago. I'm talking about now. Does Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran recognize Israel's right to exist?
Due to recent actions of Israel? Probably not. Probably not.
As the nation state of the Jewish people.
Alan, let me ask you the other thing that I find really difficult, and Thomas Friedman wrote a very good column for the New York Times today, which I read just before we started this, basically saying that Israel seems to have no plan for what happens after this. And in fact, the UAE, who've normalized relations with Israel, has already offered to go into Gaza at the end of this war in Gaza and to help build a coalition to rebuild Gaza and get the people back on track.
I agree.
But Netanyahu is refusing to countenance that. He's refusing to countenance the idea of a 2-state solution. You know, I've said for a while, I think Netanyahu is becoming a massive problem in this. And it's also hard, as Thomas Friedman said, to avoid the conclusion that Netanyahu is acting in self-interest, because the more he's been attacking Hezbollah, the more popular he's grown. Secondly, he has these corruption charges awaiting him the moment this is all over. There's no incentive actually, for him right now to try and bring peace anywhere. And he doesn't really sound like a man who wants to bring peace anywhere.
He didn't accept it in 2002.
Let Alan respond to that.
Why should he respond twice?
Well, I would like to see a resolution of Gaza, much like the resolution of Nazi Germany after the Second World War, a Marshall Plan, an effort to rebuild it, an attempt to occupy. What happened in Germany was occupied by 4 countries: France, Russia, Britain, and the United States. I would like to see a rebuilding of Gaza. I think the people of Gaza are entitled to a Hamas-free government, perhaps even a democratic government. I would like to see that on the West Bank. I am a strong supporter of a 2-state solution in which Israel can live in peace. That's all Israel has ever wanted since 1948, when it was attacked in a genocidal war. 1967, 1973. All Israel wants to do is live in peace. And if Israel can live in peace with a Palestinian neighbor that's peaceful, that would be my
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that as an ambition?
Well, he said all Israel wants to do is live in peace. And I think what Israel wants to do is have pieces of other people's land. And as he's just agreed a second ago, and you didn't even challenge him on it, which I find quite incredulous actually, is that he said, I think that the West Bank should be military occupying Israel should be military occupying the West Bank. He says that.
Absolutely.
Now, occupation.
Of course, as long as there's belligerency, there should be an occupation.
Why are you interrupting me? I've let you speak for a very long time. I've let you speak for a very long time. Now you're interrupting me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me in this manner. What I'm saying to you is, according to international law, there cannot be occupation of one sovereign nation over another. It doesn't seem like you care about international law. What do you mean? Yeah.
Wrong. No, you're just wrong.
Okay, just be
quiet
for a second.
United States occupied Japan. The United States occupied Germany. Great Britain occupied Germany. You can have a military occupation as long as there is belligerency that continues.
Your former friend Epstein, and be quiet for a second. Pretend I'm Epstein, your former friend, and be quiet and listen to what I have to say.
God damn.
Yeah? Whether the United States of America did it or not is not an indication of the legality of something. Occupation
is legal.
Occupation is by
military occupation is legal while belligerency continues. Okay. That's the law.
Are you going to be quiet? Are you going to be quiet? I've let you speak for about 3 or 4 minutes uninterrupted. He asked you 2 questions, and I've stayed quiet. Why can't? Are you okay?
Okay.
I'm saying that military occupation of one sovereign nation over another is not something that international law accepts because it contravenes the
false. False. You're false.
So. Give me the evidence to the contrary. Give me the. I'm waiting for it.
It's clear that every country that has had a war has occupied the losing country until belligerency is over. Once belligerency is over, as it was in Germany and Japan 2 or 3 years after the war, the occupation ended.
So why is it that if you're saying
military occupation is permissible as long as there's belligerency? Civilian occupation is not.
If what you're saying is true, why have the organs of the United Nations condemned the occupation of Israel? Why? The ICC, ICJ.
They have condemned the civilian aspects of the occupation. They have condemned the building of settlements, which I also condemn. I'm talking about a military occupation designed to keep the peace.
Stop it, Mohammed, for goodness sake.
Why?
It's pathetic.
Why? Why is it pathetic?
Attacking lawyers for defending people is so pathetic.
Being proud of it, yeah.
Of all the ad hominem attacks you could use, it is the least effective.
What do you think of Epstein?
And the most embarrassing.
You're defending him too much today.
I think Epstein was a disgusting human being.
So he's proud of defending him. Do you condemn him for that?
Well, I just don't care. I'm talking about Israel.
Oh, you don't care now, but why is it disgusting?
I'm talking about Israel and the Middle East.
Okay, so let's go back to the point. He was just advocating occupying the West Bank, Israel occupying the West Bank. We got to the point where he was saying that's acceptable. I'm saying that if that's acceptable from an international law perspective, then you would expect the ICC and the ICJ and these organs of the United Nations to agree with him on that assessment. They have not agreed with him on that assessment. No, even the United Kingdom doesn't agree with him on that assessment. The national position on the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank is that it's illegal. It's effective military control. So you don't know what you are talking about. And if that was possible, if it's okay for one nation, a sovereign nation, to go ahead and occupy another one, then sorry to say, Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, the same thing, the same argument.
So what you're saying, your position is.
I mean, well, actually, that's a pretty good position. It's like, all right, well, if it's okay for y'all to do that, then what's wrong with Russia and Ukraine? Why is America, in a bunch about that, but what Israel's doing, we're kind of just like, oh, la-di-da.
That when a country is attacked and it wins the war, it must leave the next day. No country has ever done that. You continue the military occupation until all belligerency ends.
Many of the conventions that were put in place
once all belligerency ends in the Gaza Strip, the occupation should end. Okay. There should not be civilian settlements.
So it's a fallacy.
There should be a military attempt to control belligerency. That's the law.
You asked me your position, and then you've
Well, he tried to answer, but once again, you shouted over him. So people can't hear the answer.
Wait a minute, do you agree with him?
What about whether I agree with him or not?
Do you agree with him?
Let the man
Why are you
answer
running
your
away
question.
from this? Do you agree with
you
the
ask a
legitimacy
question
of
and you
occupation?
shout over the answer.
Is it okay for one country to occupy another sovereign nation? Is it okay?
Do you know what is okay? I've had
yes or no?
I'm done.
Oh, you give up?
Yeah, I'm exhausted. I need a break. I need a cup of tea. Alan, thank you for your patience. I asked you to have a civilized debate. You tried, despite extreme provocation,
of course,
on a very personal and ill-informed way, you have managed to be civilized. Mohammed,
I'm sure you're going to say that. He's your friend. He's a good friend.
I appreciate
I like
that.
Alan. I respect Alan.
I'm sure you do.
And you, Mohammed, let yourself down today.
I think you let yourself down.
I'm sure the people that follow you on
He's a monster.
Cheering you on.
He's a monster.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay, he defended a monster. Do you agree with that?
Person who's behaved
did he offend the monster?
The only person who's behaved in a monstrous way in this debate.
Okay, whatever. That's your opinion. That's your opinion. You've given up this debate.
No, I've actually run out of time. We're running 2.5 minutes over time. As you know, you were booked till 5 o'clock. It is 5:03.
I don't even know
We've actually run out of time.
Fantastic.
But we've also booked to debate something that you've rarely spent much time on debating because you were far too busy scoring personal cheap little jibes, ill-informed jibes.
Whatever. You do. It's good. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
I always think
what's good for the goose is you can't handle it. You can dish it out, but you can't take it.
Oh, I can.
You've got a weak chin.
I can take anything, son.
You've got a heavy punch, but a weak jaw.
I always think when people get personal and abusive
it's
because they can't argue the argument.
You're both weak.
Because they can't argue the argument.
Whatever.
So people who can't win an argument, the normal way of debating,
you've just run away from this
ad
debate.
hominem attacks, personal abuse.
Sure.
That's what you've done.
I think you've given up on this debate. I think you've
and you let yourself down, Mohammed.
I mean, he really did.
Because you realised that what you were spewing was false, and you were talking about the pager attack, and you said about it that was an act of military brilliance. I'm sure if it happened here in Sainsbury's and a little white boy was killed, you wouldn't say that, would you?
You know what?
Like you've also let down the Palestinian people. You've also let down the Palestinian people.
He has let down the Palestinian people.
Whatever. I think you both let yourself down. I think you both given up.
Okay.
And I think the standing 10 count has been done. And I think the white towel has been thrown in.
Yeah.
And I think the people can judge what I've done today.
Okay. You know what? On that, I think we can all agree. People can watch your performance in the last hour and they can judge accordingly. And let me tell you, Mohammed, they will. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming in. Alan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Interesting. That was a very interesting debate. I ain't even gonna lie. All right, though. Let's head into. Wait, hold on. I guess we got a little bit more time for the conspiracy hour. Damn. All right. Let me go ahead and throw this one on y'all. Let me know what y'all think about this.
That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying
funds were certainly allocated in a manner that's a slap in the face to most Americans. And that right there is the frickin' point. You know, once again, they're on their high horse.
I'll be right back,
Republicans are lying and we're doing everything right. It's just fake news and misinformation. But that is total hogwash. And everybody can see it. Apparently now, even Joe Rogan. This administration is continuing to get dragged for their lack of preparedness for this hurricane season. And no matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter how many times they fact check, it's not going to help anyone. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so I first want to start off with this moment right over here. Here's Peter Doocy and Karine Jean-Pierre duking it out in the White House press room. And let's just say these Democrats, well, they're kind of panicking here. Karine Jean-Pierre, at the end of it, stormed out of the room.
We've taken this very seriously. More than $200 million that we have provided to the impacted areas. But instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous, Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values there's not enough money right now for
His
people in
values,
North Carolina who
his-
need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole.
Now, that's a very good point. Like, what were the values of the Biden administration if we're siphoning money from FEMA, from the SSP that they got in FEMA that gives out money to immigrants? Like, where, you know, what's their alliance here? I need to go back on that one.
Impacted areas, but instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous. Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for
His
people
values,
in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir.
Huh?
What you do? Yes,
Which
it's
part?
misinformation.
Is there money to send to Lebanon right now?
I just mentioned to you that.
Like, come on, sweetheart, don't lie to us. Don't lie, bro. Mayorkas, the person who runs the DOJ, just came out and said FEMA does not have enough money for the hurricane season, but it's been reported through the SSP program that's under FEMA that Biden signed in, they went from sending about 300 million last year to 650 million this year alone to immigrants. Yes, for non-citizen immigrant assistance.
We provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area. And I just shared with you that people are deciding not to,
Wait. To Congress that there's not enough money to help people
We're
in North
talking
Carolina
about the SBA disaster loan.
That's
Yes.
money for people in North Carolina.
And that's important. And people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new. Congress comes together. They provide money, millions of dollars, for disaster relief. We're asking them to do the job that they have been doing for some time.
From a letter that President Biden sent to Johnson, McConnell, Schumer, and Jeffries. The president's letter is not misinformation. Would you agree?
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. There is money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of hurricane.
Now, this is true. They do have about, what was it about? It was about, I don't know, $70+ billion in unliquidated funds. So, and that's FEMA. So whatever these funds they have, well, they better start liquidating. I don't know if it's in bonds, stock, land, I don't know, but they need to start liquidating so we can get these funds to these people. Because according to the person who runs it, they're out of money. No money at all. You thought it was $750 per person, it was $750 per household.
Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now there's going to be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding. That's
exactly what I just asked about. And you said it was misinformation.
What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants.
Shout out the gaslighting.
Same thing over and over again. Ooh, misinformation. They love just claiming everything's misinformation
the
as their
gaslighting
default
was
strategy
like
for not having to
A1
answer
though.
actual questions. You know, again, nobody is saying that FEMA took
Like, terrible House Speaker, but you cannot lie. That gaslighting was like top-notch gaslighting.
money out of disaster relief and gave it to migrants. What people are saying is, when it came to funding government, when it came to moving monies around, the priorities seemed skewed.
These people, grandparents and a child that were on a roof, and it was before the roof swept away, the building swept away and they drowned. But there's a photograph of the last photograph of them on the roof, and they're terrified. And this little girl and her grandparents are on this roof. And how much relief are they going to get? Is it going to be like Maui, where you give them $700? That's more insulting than giving them no money. A one-time fee of $700, but you're going to give Ukraine 170 whatever billion.
I mean, come
Yeah.
on. The simple fact is that FEMA seemed severely underprepared. And now we got all these clips of internal meetings with top FEMA directors going on about all this woke crap.
LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling.
You know, the shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity. We also know that communities that are highly bonded within can survive in the immediate aftermath of a disaster. But if they're not linked outside of their highly bonded communities, they will have less ability to thrive and support and even influence how recovery looks in their communities. So we have to be looking at making sure that we have highly bonded communities, which would be, and one of them that I would identify would be LGBT communities, have to be highly linked across power structures before a disaster happens.
What are you and FEMA doing to prioritize equity when it comes to disaster recovery?
This is something that I think about every day, and this was one of my priorities when I first came into the agency to serve in this role as FEMA administrator. During my first period with FEMA, working with states and local jurisdictions and understanding the diversity of the communities, not just cities, but the neighborhoods within the cities and the challenges that they face. And how do we make sure we understand what their barriers are to accessing the programs that they're eligible for?
Woman, what about the people? Like, what are you talking about? As FEMA administrator, the only thing you should be talking about is, all right, man, we just stockpiling, making sure we can get a good amount of money for the next hurricane. You never know. You can never have enough money for them, right? You never have enough money for the American people, is what you would hope she would say. But she's saying all this, I don't know, like lofty idealism, leftist BS. And I'm just like, all right, sweetheart, you're not. Wait, how are you the FEMA administrator? Like, who? No, I'm not even going to go into my sexist points. You know what? That's it. Fuck it. I'm being sexist. This is what happened when you let women run things.
And people are sitting there scratching their heads, wondering who's in charge. What's going on? Why was there not an immediate, swift, exceptional American response to this horrible natural disaster? We know that there's money there, but obviously it wasn't enough. Considering how much independent people had to step up, it's obvious the response wasn't adequate. And maybe the skewed priorities have something to do with it. Maybe if some of the money that was being spent on the migrant crisis that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden started was instead left in a contingency fund meant to be deployed in response to actual natural disasters to help actual Americans, maybe we wouldn't be in this position. And yes, the $700 thing is a slap in the face, especially when you have to apply for it. Oh, has your entire neighborhood been destroyed? Are you stranded on top of a building as the rushing waves pass by? Well, simply go to getyou700dollars.gov, put in all your information, and we'll wire you $700. It's a slap in the frickin' face. That's what it is. And it's another instance of Democrats throwing money at a problem, hoping that it's going to go away. At least that's what it reads like. And the craziest part of all, what I find so frankly frustrating, is that Democrats are pretending as if the outrage comes from nowhere. Like people are just pretending as if FEMA was ill-prepared and didn't have the funds. But no, let's be real here. Where did this whole thing start? It started with this.
We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Mr. President, what do you aim to...
When Joe Biden said, as people were dying, that there were no more resources that we could give them. That's what sparked the whole thing. Then people started to look in, and they started to pay attention to FEMA's balance sheets, and that's where all the red flags started to pop up. I mean, I saw a financial statement today that suggested that FEMA is still spending billions of dollars on COVID response in September of 2024. It's just insane. People are right to be pissed.
Bro, and they get like, what? They got like $29 billion in funding, so what are they doing?
Optics are frankly horrible. A FEMA that's focused on all this woke nonsense.
Like
Kamala Harris talking about
billion.
equity in terms of disaster response, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we saw with, the FEMA people in some of those clips. Then we learn that hundreds of millions of dollars in FEMA funds are being spent on illegal migrants whose first act in the country was criminal. And now we're supposed to take this, that we're the bad people for having questions, for looking into things and finding skewed priorities. Give me a break. It's unbelievable. The outrage approach was totally valid, especially after what Joe Biden said. But now Democrats want credit. Kamala Harris just recently said this.
The other point I'd make is that there's a lot of mis and disinformation being pushed out there by the former president about what is available, in particular to the survivors of Helene. And first of all, it's extraordinarily irresponsible. It's about him. It's not about you.
Really?
And the reality is that FEMA has...
Now it's crazy. I'm going to tell you what's extraordinary and responsible. Now, you want to talk about extraordinary and responsible. I mean, let's talk about FEMA. Let's talk about what they actually doing out here. Let's talk about what our boy Mayorkas is talking about. Because this is amazing. So stick with me on this one, because I'm going to drill this point home.
Free market to respond to this. By the way, can you play the clip I just sent you, Rob? Here's Mayorkas saying 3 months ago, the keywords, we are fully prepared. You have to read exactly what he says. Play the clip. He says, we are fully ready for hurricane season to come. Play the clip.
90 days ago. Maybe really like 97 days ago now.
FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do.
This is 90 days ago.
This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well. And it's not just hurricanes and wildfires, also extreme heat, which certainly some parts of the United States are already experiencing.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds.
Yes, Mayorkas. Yeah, FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season. And that is where things went awry. That's where everybody was like, all right, where's it going then? Wait, $29 billion, where'd it go? Where the hell did it go?
Funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration.
Wait, you can let it play. Keep playing it.
Spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants.
So check this out. They post this, right? And this scares the crap out of them. To the point where if we go to FEMA's website, FEMA is so worried about what's going on right now with the amount of hate that it gets. Just go to the homepage. And then if you go look at that, go to the next page. You know how it swipes right? Just go to the next one. Those 3 buttons on the bottom, go to the next one, and then go to the next one and watch what the next one is. Okay? Rumor response. Click on that. Go to it. What do you mean rumor response?
Rumor response.
So they're trying to say we never gave that money to to migrants. By the way, I have the notes here to read it to you on what they spend the money on. I have it from their website. I have to find it.
Okay.
But I have it here. You know what it says verbatim on their website? That this money, Brandon, if you guys can send it to me, I know I have it somewhere here. There it is. I found it. Ready? So they have this program called the SSP. FEMA has a program called the SSP. Rob, just go online and type in SSP FEMA. SSP FEMA stands for Shelter and Services.
And bro, mark this down. FFP, bro, put it under FEMA. Put FEMA over SSP, bro. Look that up, bro. It's gonna blow your mind, but I'm gonna show you here though as well.
This is for FEMA. I'm gonna read.
Yep, right under that. The Shelter and Service Program, SSP, FEMA.com. So when people tell you, oh, it has nothing to do with FEMA, I mean, well, what you mean? They take ownership of it, but they'll also lie in your face on their website that, nothing is going on.
Read it to you from their site. They give grants to local governments and nonprofits to take care of undocumented immigrants. Congress boosted the budget from $360 million last year to $650 million this year. Watch this. In the 2023 annual report says it provides shelter, such as hotel, motel, services, food, and transportation, including including plane tickets up to $700 a person. This is undocumented. By the way.
And you thought we were making it up. FEMA damn near exposes it through their own program. Like, yes, we're paying for flights. Yes, we're giving them funding out of pretty much America's emergency funds for the American people. Just in case of emergency and disasters, there's FEMA. We got y'all. We got y'all through taxpayer money. And our taxpayer money we think are going towards Americans are actually going towards immigrants.
When you go back to the last one you went on the FEMA side, Rob, there's a conversation about the fact that they have $73 billion of unaccounted money. I don't understand what that was all about, Rob. I want to read this to you. This is from their website, folks. This is not a blog. As of October 2022, FEMA estimates that 847 disasters declarations with approximately $73 billion in what?
Unliquidated funds
remains open. For this audit, we focused on 79 open disaster declarations from the list that were declared in 2012 or earlier out of the 79, and had 89 authorized grant programs open as of October 2022, totaled $8.3 billion of unliquidated funds. During the audit, FEMA completed the closure of 13 declarations of 16 grant programs associated with the open declarations in our spoke, returning an estimated $5.7 billion. What does this tell you? They have the money.
Of course.
If they wanted to do something with it. Tom, why don't you think they do? Why do you think there lacks the urgency?
I have got no idea why this game went over the weekend. There is, in a straight line basis,
Man, and ain't that crazy? But we're going to go ahead and switch it over into the conspiracy hour, man. Let's go.
Serge Manast wasn't the type of... has Gertie been using your computer?
How did you do that?
My little desert rose. Serge Manast wasn't the type of guy you'd expect to become a global conspiracy icon. He was a journalist from Quebec, Canada. He focused mainly on political commentary. In the early 90s, he didn't like where society was headed. Something was happening. He could feel